What time of year did you get started on the garden, and what kind of a timeline did you have?
When we first started this thing, we started in March, and actually maybe even a little earlier than that, into February the very first time. We got everything approved, and we tore up the land, and we came in and had a guy come in with a great big rototiller on top back of his tractor, and it was awesome. It turned everything over, and we got things ready to go. The first year we planted 80 tomato plants, and we started growing them actually in my house. And because they had no adversity, nothing pushing them around, they were spindly little things, and we put them down here to grow them, and they looked worthless, and they weren't doing anything. So about second, third week of June, we had a huge storm come through, and right over here we had an 80-foot tall blue spruce. It was beautiful, and it fell right on top of our tomatoes. And I thought, well, this guy trying to tell us something. But what we figured out was happening there is those tomatoes needed some adversity, and when they started getting beat up, they started growing. And you know, I think that's how we are in general. It's hard to get strong unless you're lifting weights. If you're just lifting the bar, you don't get much. And so we started having adversity, and things took off like crazy. And so we started in early March, and it really took off in June and July. Our corn was amazing last year. This year was okay, considering we had every day 100 degrees, and we worked plus. 100 was a cool spell. But the corn was ugly, and it came out great. The corn actually came out pretty great. We were able to disperse that throughout the community, and after we picked it. And I say we, that means my wife. And because we didn't have kids here to pick it, and I was busy probably sipping tea, and but you know, she took care of that. So that's kind of the process. And come this fall, we'll tear everything down. We have a lot of cages. You know, you're looking at 60 plus. I don't even know how many tomato plants. But we're gonna have to pull all these poles out of the ground, take the cages. We're gonna have to knock everything down, and get it ready to go the next time. And so there'll be a lot of work to do in the fall. The nice thing is we'll start having kids show up during that time as well. And as you have kids jump in there, you know, they don't work long, but if we can get an hour or two out of a group of kids, that's hugely helpful to us. We have a haystack. Someone dropped a hay bale over here, literally a straw bale and used to be huge. Well, I don't like playing the straw so much, but kids do. And they can tear it apart, and they say, hey, tear it apart and throw it down the aisles of the tomato plants. So they did, and they think it's a game. Me, not so much, but you know, it's those type of things that are really helpful.
And where do you get your seeds for the things that you grow?
You know, the first year Kelly wrote a grant and got a grant for just seeds, and took off with it. This year we just bought them personally, and we have used some grant money. Seeds aren't hugely expensive. That's a great thing about seed planting in life in general, is if you can get the seed planted, that isn't usually the expensive part. The rest of it, the work to make it grow. And so, you know, if you can do nothing else, if you can find some good seed to help with that, that's handy. You know, we thought for sure we had to have pumpkin plants. You can't start from seed. Well, as it turns out, pumpkin starts from seed to about a foot tall in about 2 weeks. I mean, it's amazing. You don't need that, so the seeds do work. And but you know, we got a lot of donation. A lot of these heirloom tomatoes right behind me, or a wonderful lady from Ellsworth donated those, and she brought those over. She heard we were doing it and left them on our doorstep in my house. And so we brought them down and just stuck them in the ground. We figured we had enough tomatoes, but as it turns out, we didn't have enough tomatoes. These are awesome. I love these heirloom tomatoes, and some of them look really cool.
And where do you get the gardening tools that you use, and where do you keep them?
The gardening tools, you know, part of our grant, the waste management grant, with the money that we've got through the PTA and Lowe's, really took us a long way. We were able to get a big rototiller, but to be able to I mean, we have a lot of square feet here. We've got 50 by 150 foot garden, so that's a lot of passes up and down with an 18-inch rototiller. And so we got a guy come in with his tractor, and so we have volunteers come in and knock some of this stuff out. Lawn needed mowed the other day, and the former mayor of this community came by and said, oh, this looks great. He goes, tomorrow morning I'll be down before church and get this mowed. And he came down and mowed it. And so we have people with tools that are around. We have a garden shed that was provided for us. It was here when we got here. Really nice. And so we're able to buy things and put in there. A lot of things are donated. We put them in. I'm going to steal ideas big time from the Merck and what they did with Lawrence. Those little, put up a list of things. Here's what we need, and let people take it off and go supply it. Beautiful. And so hoses, because of the increase in oil, hoses have gotten very expensive. So we spent some money on hoses. But I picked up a 200-foot the other day of amazing hose. It's in my house. I'm going to bring it over for $4, and at an auction. And people didn't hang around for when they're auctioning hose. Actually, I bid 12 because he had 2 sprinklers I didn't really want with it, and people handed me $4 a piece for the sprinklers, and I walked away with $4 worth of hose for it's 200 feet. So that's if you keep your eyes open, you can come up with that type of stuff.
What age of kids do you have working in your garden, and what all kinds of things they get to do?
Our high school kids do the heavy lifting and pushing around and a lot of the harvesting. Our elementary and middle school kids can come down and harvest and have, and they help plant. They really get like the 4th grade cabbage plant. We're going to see a lot more of that when we have the beds outside the window of their classroom. And so we built that this summer, and that'll be our next thing. If you continue with this, you'll be able to see. And we've got these 2 by 8 and 2 by 10 foot, 4 foot by 8 boxes with, you do ground cover, and then you put in amazing soil, and then you help kids build the soil, and we'll see a whole new level of involvement. We'll probably lose a little of our labor down here, but we kind of got this covered down here. But we're excited to see what happens actually at the school when we have the composters there and the boxes right at the school site.
What kind of safety precautions do you have to take with the students?
You have to be careful. It'd be really nice to have a student on the end of a rototiller, but you just can't do that. We don't have them pushing mowers, but we can have them watering. We have them pulling weeds. We can have them doing a lot of different things around that aren't going to get them cut up. If we have some errant fence, we have to be that we're going to put together for our cages. We don't have our kids involved with that. But there's so many things they can do. You just put them on a bed. You put 5 kids on a 4 foot by 8 foot and said, we challenge you to find weeds. They're going to be gone in 2 minutes, and where it would take me forever. And so we want our kids to be involved in things that are safe. We're just really careful in what we have them involved with. The nice thing about it is kids are ornery by nature. You're looking at one of the orneries. And when we had melons here last year, we actually had some kids come down here and cause some damage with our melons. And it just so happens the community didn't like that. And even the lady across the street, she filmed them doing it and brought them out. Anyway, they were really good workers this fall. So, and they weren't involved in planting the melons. If we'd have had them here planting the melons and watering the melons, then they wouldn't have been smashing the melons. And we still have plenty. But it was some this year the squash bugs got our melons.
And any other comments or advice or?
I think that the best advice I give to somebody that wants to do it is to do it. The key to success is action, and just to go for it. You can sit around and plan and talk about it and have committees all day long, but if you can find the land and find a way to do it, just do it. And realize you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. Success lies on the far side of failure, and you've got to be willing to take those chances. And life's a risk. And the neat thing about this is, so if you fail, what have you lost? You didn't have anything before. If you succeed, you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food out of the deal to help feed people, feed people naturally. They're going to have slow food. It's not fast food. And something besides macaroni and cheese, if you're in poverty, that's what you get because that's what you can afford. And so there's so much to gain, so little to lose. You lose time, you lose energy because it's really hard. But as it turns out, I'm kind of a fat boy anyway, and getting out and working in the garden ain't going to hurt anything. So it's been good for me as well.